What's canon and what's not canon? It's something which Doctor Who fans sometimes, not all the time, can be bothered about. I myself am guilty of this. Say a certain piece of merchandise comes out or an episode comes out and it could contradict something which has been established for so long with Doctor Who lore. Sometimes you can get angry about it. The most obvious example of this is with the most recent series of Doctor Who, Series 12, starring Jodie Whittaker. Because in that series, I actually found myself thinking about the canon of certain things that may have come out before and since the episodes come out. So, my first example for this would be something stupid like The Haunting of Villa Diodati, which is a great episode. One thing that bothered me about the episode, and it's really stupid, it's to do with the canon, and it's to do with Mary Shelley, because a few years before that, we had some Eighth Doctor audios from Big Finish, and they featured Mary Shelley as a companion, and none of that got referenced in The Haunting of Villa Diodati, which I was quite annoyed about. But thinking about it, does it really matter? Do the Eighth Doctor audios need to be considered as canon? And the simple answer is no, they don't need to be. Not everyone is going to be listening to the Big Finish audios. There'll be some fans of Doctor Who will just purely watch the TV show, and that's it. And if you're one of those people, then that's absolutely fine. You don't need to commit yourself to collecting all of these Big Finish audios along with the endless amount of comic books and novels that have come out through the years to coincide with the main show. I myself, I'm of the opinion that Big Finish audios do add to the story, and I personally do believe that the Big Finish audios are canon. And the reason I think that they are canon is because, well, look no further than that one line said by the Eighth Doctor in The Night of the Doctor when he talks about all his companions. That for me solidified all of the audios which at least feature the Eighth Doctor. All of them are canon in my mind, so all of those happened. All of it is part of the established Doctor Who lore. Now, the next thing I'm going to bring up is the elephant in the room. We're still, well, some of those are still talking about this after over a year of it being broadcast. The Timeless Child. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the whole reveal of there being multiple incarnations before the first Doctor. But what I am a fan of is the idea that there can now be an unlimited amount of incarnations of the Doctor, because it was kind of like a loophole that Time Lords could only have 13 incarnations before their time runs out. That's it. That's something which was established in the classic series, and as far as I know, I think it still is. I don't think that that's completely ruined. I think it's only to do with the Doctor. The reason I'm bringing this up is because you have all of these things with the canon, and you have timelines and whatnot, all of this stuff. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. And that brings me to why I'm making this video today, because Christopher Eccleston, who has been in the news quite a lot recently, I've done quite a lot of videos recently featuring this man. He's done an interview recently, and he even got asked about the canon, and it's in regards to where these upcoming audios that he's doing, where they fit in his timeline. Now, we know from Big Finish themselves that these adventures will take place before the events of Rose, thus making this probably the earliest part in the Ninth Doctor's timeline. Now, Eccleston himself was asked about this. He was put on the spot, and what he said was, should we even bother? And he suggested that the BBC series needs to explode the canon as he reprises his role for the first time in 16 years. He said further on that he's not a slave to the canon. He thinks that if the show wants to survive going forward, it needs to explode the canon. And he's referenced the number of incarnations that the Doctor has, saying that it's nonsense, and he says that the imagination is limitless. I'm inclined to agree with him in this, because at the end of the day, Doctor Who is a massive universe. Anything can be done. And I'd like to think that in the most recent series, love it or hate it, I have got my issues with this current era of Doctor Who. Don't get me wrong, I do have issues with it. But do we have to go by the same routine every few years of having an actor be recast into the role of the Doctor and then rinse and repeat every few years? You have regenerations, because you have things like Joe Martin's Doctor, who at time of recording we still don't know where she fits in to all of this. Is she the next incarnation? Is she actually a past incarnation which comes before Hartnell or something? We don't know. Or for all we know, she could be just a Doctor from an alternative universe. The latter, I think, is probably the safest bet, because, well, it's the safest thing that the BBC would do and what Chris Chibnall would do, just to play it safe before pissing off a lot of other audiences. But still, having an alternative universe Doctor coincide with an in-universe Doctor, the Jodie Doctor, that's fine. I think that's great, because then you allow like a whole multiverse idea taking place, thus sort of shaking up canon a little bit. I like that, because at the end of the day, you need to do new things with the canon sometimes. I'm always up for that, because at the end of the day, Doctor Who is progressive, and Eccleston hits the nail on the head. He said himself that it is progressive. When he played the role 16 years ago, it was progressive. The whole idea, the whole dynamic of the show changed, because the companion was sort of like taking a much more central role in the programme, as opposed to how they were in the majority of the classic series. We did get that towards the end of the 80s with Ace, but it didn't really have time to showcase that, because the show, as we all know, did get cancelled before I think it could have hit a new renaissance in the early 1990s. And to be honest, I think that a lot of people should just go with what Eccleston says. People should just ignore the canon. I myself, I care about the canon, but I have my own head canon. Like for me, as I said earlier, Big Finish audios, the majority of them, I consider to be canon. Stuff from the main range, 8th Doctor stuff, basically anything which stars any of the actual Doctors, I consider to be canon. Now, someone else may be inclined to disagree with me and think that all the Big Finish stuff, it's all nonsense, it never happened. The only thing that is canon is what happens in the TV show. And if you think that, brilliant. Because I think it's just all open to interpretation. And to be honest, Canon, I'm going to be blunt here, it's something we shouldn't really be bothered about. So I think that Eccleston is right. We shouldn't worry about the Canon. We should just enjoy what we get from Doctor Who. We should enjoy the show for what it is, in whatever iteration you like it to be in, whether it's the TV show, the comics, the novels, or audios. That concludes my impromptu Doctor Who video for today. If you like this video, then please give it a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified for all of my Doctor Who content which is coming up on the channel. There is quite a lot coming up, I'll just be saying that. And I shall see you for many more videos coming up. Take care, guys. Bye for now.